A group of recent high school graduates heads to a cabin in the woods for a weekend of drinking and debauchery. Unbeknownst to the teens, a demented lunatic stalks through the trees, determined to eliminate them one by one. One snowy night, Sienna and her boyfriend make love on her parents' bed. She pauses the deed, then proceeds to lock her boyfriend's wrists to the bedposts using handcuffs. He realizes she wanted to do it on her parents' bed because it'd be funny if her sanctimonious mother caught them. When they continue the deed, the man gasps when he spots Sienna's sibling watching through the open doorway. He says the kid gives him the creeps, so the woman yells at the child to go away, uncuffs the boyfriend, and heads to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Sienna answers a call from her father, who says he hopes he'll be home soon because he misses the daughter. From behind the shower curtain, someone grabs a pair of scissors. After the call, the attacker slides the curtain aside and stabs Sienna several times until she perishes. Moments later, the attacker, revealed to be the woman's sibling, enters the bedroom. The boyfriend orders the child to get out, but because he doesn't have any clothes on, the kid cuts off his member with the sharp scissors and then ends his life. Years later, a group of friends make their way to the woods to celebrate their high school graduation. Carly tells Ryan to quit sticking his body out the window while wearing a mascot head. The man says he's happy he's finally leaving high school, prompting his girlfriend Sarah to point out that he stayed 2 years longer than needed. Then, Ryan asks Drew when he hopes he and Jenna are finally doing the deed. The man explains his girlfriend wishes to remain chaste until she's genuinely in love, but looks forward to them finally making love this weekend. Roman asks Drew if they're staying at his father's cabin in the woods, and the latter affirms but says they need to pick Jenna up at her house and that Anya and Elliot are meeting them there as well. Sarah annoyedly asks why Elliot's coming with them, so her boyfriend reminds her that he supplies their illegal substances. When Jenna opens the door for Drew, he tries to kiss her on the cheek. However, she pulls away and points out that her strict father's sitting a few feet away. While the woman finishes packing up in her room, the boyfriend struggles to answer her father's questions regarding the weekend trip. Drew promises there won't be any illegal activities and swears he and the man's daughter aren't doing the deed. Meanwhile, in the car, Carly rolls her eyes as she listens to Sarah and Ryan hit each other as a warm-up for their intimate activities later tonight. Moments later, Anya arrives, and her boyfriend Roman kisses her. When Carly admonishes her friends for cozying up with their partners, the others tease that she's jealous because she'll be alone all weekend. Seconds later, Elliot arrives, and Roman remarks he brought too much stuff for the short trip. Then, Anya asks Carly if her boyfriend Jason's coming with them. The woman says he can't because he's working, so she made sure to bring her adult toys. Finally, Jenna finishes packing and tells her boyfriend she asked Rachel to come. Drew isn't thrilled about the woman's decision, but he says it's okay as long as they can escape her father's judgmental eyes as soon as possible. Outside, Jenna excitedly hugs Rachel, who gives Drew a smug smirk. On the drive to the woods, the two women share flirty smiles in the back seat. Eventually, the group arrives at the cabin and realizes most of them are sleeping in tents because there are only 2 beds inside. Anya asks where the restroom is, so Drew points to the outhouse much to the woman's disgust. While everyone disperses to grab their things from the cars, Ryan and Sarah decide to pitch their tent near the lake for privacy. Later, Roman, Ryan, and Elliot enter the tool shed to search for the generator. By the window, the bespectacled man finds a box of bloody archaic tools and worries they might have been used in a ritualistic sacrifice, but his companions mock him. The women see the outhouse's nauseating state and agree to let Elliot clean it for them later. That evening, Anya learns they'll need to hunt and fish for their food tomorrow, so she tries to call a hotel to book a room. However, she has no service because they're way out in the woods. While the others eat dinner, Roman and Anya make love in the cabin while Ryan and Sarah do the deed in the woods. Later, Anya tells her boyfriend that she's pregnant and isn't sure if she wants to keep it. Roman asks why, so she says she dreams of traveling Europe and attending fashion school. She adds that her parents won't be happy about the news, reminding him about the time her father cut her off for a week just because she scratched her car. However, the man assures Anya that even if her family cuts her off, he can work in his uncle's construction company to earn money for their family's future. Later, the friends hang around the bonfire by the cabin. Then, Carly recounts the chilling tale of Ralphie, the boy who killed his older sister and her boyfriend. She says he was then committed to a mental institution where he allegedly likes to dress up in women's clothes. The frightened Elliot reminds the others about the nearby mental hospital, but Ryan laughs about his concern. Rachel speaks up and says Carly's Ralphie story has some inconsistencies. trees. Then, Drew asks Jenna if she is ready to go to bed, but the woman says she's sleeping in Rachel's tent tonight, much to his disappointment. After the two women walk away, the others tease the man by saying that Jenna and Rachel are secretly a couple. Suddenly, Jason, Carly's police officer boyfriend, startles the friends with his arrival, then explains he was in the area investigating another party a mile away. Soon, the couple makes love in a tent in the woods. After the deed, Carly asks the man when he'll leave his wife since he promised to do so once she graduates. However, he hasn't thought about it yet and adds that he never specified which graduation he meant, implying she might have to wait until she graduates college before the man fulfills his promise. Carly states that Jason doesn't take the relationship seriously and only came to see her for pleasure. So to appease her, the cop promises they can talk about it once she and her friends return to town. While making his way through the woods, Jason leans on a tree to check the bottom of his shoe. Suddenly, someone wraps a rope around his body, tying him to the trunk. Then, the attacker slashes the cop's abdomen with a blade, causing his entrails to spill out and ending his life. The next morning, Drew hears screaming and follows it into the woods. There, he finds Roman and Ryan taking turns shooting arrows at Elliot tied to a tree. The scared man says the two men grabbed him from his tent while he was sleeping, tied him up and shot an arrow into his thigh. Drew orders his friends to cut the man loose, but they refuse until he shoots an arrow at the can atop Elliot's head. So Drew, who admittedly won 3 state championships for archery, expertly pierces the can. Later, while Jenna and Rachel hang out, Drew interrupts, prompting the friend to leave and give the couple time to talk. The man expresses his frustrations regarding his girlfriend spending most of her time with Rachel when the weekend was supposed to be all about the two of them. Jenna says she asked her friend to come along because she's been having a rough time lately, but she acknowledges that she's been ignoring Drew. The pair kiss, but when the man moves to lift her shirt, she stops him and says she isn't ready. Meanwhile, Anya finds Roman hanging out with Ryan in the woods. Noticing the woman's anxious behavior, Ryan offers her booze, which she refuses. The man jokingly asks if she's pregnant, and the couple's silence answers his question. He squeals joyfully, but Roman tells him not to tell anyone, not even Sarah. Then, he hugs the pair and expresses how excited he is to be an uncle. From behind the trees, someone ominously watches the trio. Concurrently, Rachel hears a noise as she stands by the lake. She thinks it's Carly and says that if the woman has anything to say to her, she should come out and say it to her face. However, no one emerges from the trees, so Rachel returns to the campsite. Later, as Roman and Anya make their way back to the cabin, Elliot informs the man that he cleaned the outhouse just like they wanted and that he'd like his pants back. So Roman says they threw the garment in the lake and will have to head there to fish them out of the water. Meanwhile, Ryan and Sarah continue their intimate acts in the forest. Unbeknownst to the mascot head-wearing man, the tormentor slips a leather belt around his girlfriend's neck and strangles her. Then, the mystery person wields a machete and with one fluid motion, slices Ryan's head clean off. By her tent, Carly searches for her adult toy but can't find it anywhere. That evening, Roman and Anya make love in the cabin. Outside, Carly catches Elliot peeping at the couple through the window while pleasuring himself. The woman calls him out on his behavior, prompting the frustrated man to exclaim that he wouldn't have to take matters into his own hands if she agreed to sleep with him. When he sees that Roman and Anya finish doing the deed, the disappointed man walks around the cabin. Suddenly, he trips and falls to the ground, and when he stands back up, the attacker stabs him with the same tools he saw in the tool shed yesterday. The next day, Carly calls out Sarah's name in the woods when Anya comes up from behind and startles her. The friend assures the woman that Sarah and Roman probably found a cave somewhere and decided to spend the night there. Meanwhile, Jenna tells Drew how much she'd love to stay in the cabin forever because she feels safe there. Then, she reveals that even though most people think her mother died from an illness, she was brutally murdered. The boyfriend comforts the woman, but she clarifies that her mother deserved what happened to her because she cheated on her father for years. She adds that after the divorce, her mother continued seeing multiple men at the same time. One man wanted her to be his exclusively, and when her mother refused, he killed her. Drew asks if what happened to her mother is why she chooses to remain chaste, and she nods. She apologizes for making him wait, so he says it's okay and completely understands her decision. He asks why she never told him sooner, so the woman explains that she worried it'd freak him out. Drew assures his girlfriend that he'd never think about her that way, and the couple kisses. That night, Anya asks Roman if he'll still find her attractive even after she gains weight from the pregnancy, and he says he'll still think she's beautiful at 80. Then, the woman stands up and heads to the outhouse. Inside the flimsy structure, someone knocks on the door, so Anya says it's occupied. Suddenly, the tormentor slips a sickle through one of the small spaces on the wall. hooks the blade onto the woman's body and kills her. The next day, Roman trashes the campsite while furiously yelling out Anya's name. Drew asks what he's doing, so the angry man says his girlfriend went to the outhouse last night and never returned. So the friends check the outhouse and find blood all over the structure's interior. Roman's convinced someone murdered his girlfriend, but Drew says Elliot probably planned a practical joke with Ryan, Sarah, and Anya. He adds that the foursome's probably in the woods somewhere, laughing at their expense. Rachel doesn't think it's a game, so Drew assures her that it is because he knows how Elliot thinks. Jenna wonders how their friends made the blood look real, so her boyfriend theorizes they used animal blood for authenticity. Later, Jenna opens Rachel's tent and kisses her friend. The smooch wakes the woman, so Jenna says she and the others are taking a walk and asks if she'd like to join them. Rachel says she's under the weather and would rather sleep in the tent. In the woods, Carly spots Ryan's mascot head, picks it up, and says she never knew how heavy it was. However, when she flips it over, she sees the severed head inside and tosses it to Jenna, who tosses it to the men. Roman and the women think it's best to leave immediately, but Drew says they can't because Elliot, Anya, and Sarah might still be alive. He suggests calling the police, so his girlfriend reminds him there's no phone service. Roman suspects Drew as the killer because he's adamant about staying, so the men get into a scuffle, and when they eventually separate, Carly asks where Rachel is, hinting she might be the killer. The friends head back to the woman's tent despite Jenna's insistence that her friend's innocent. To their horror, they find Rachel, with her entrails pouring out, lying lifelessly inside the tent. Jenna punches Roman for callously insisting her friend was the killer and runs back to the cabin. Drew follows his girlfriend, comforts her, and asks if she loved Rachel. Jenna says she did, but like a sister, which completely differs from how she loves her boyfriend. Then, the woman kisses him, and the couple finally makes love for the first time. Meanwhile, Roman and Carly realize the tormentor sabotaged their vehicles, so they can't leave. So the man grabs an axe, runs into the woods alone, and leaves Carly by herself. The woman heads to the cabin, and when she realizes Drew and Jenna just finished the deed, she admonishes them both for their lack of urgency. In the forest, Roman sees a cloaked figure, but when he touches the person, the body falls to the ground, and he sees that it's his lifeless girlfriend. As the man sobs and holds Anya, the killer shoots him with several arrows, ending his life. In the cabin, Drew searches the drawers and cabinets for weapons until he finds a baseball bat. When the trio hears the tormentor outside, Jenna twists her ankle after jumping from the chair, and the frightened Carly runs out the front door. Drew tells his girlfriend they need to leave while the attacker's preoccupied with Carly, but the woman says he needs to leave her behind. Meanwhile, the killer shoves the adult toy in the woman's mouth and uses a rock to hammer it in until she perishes. In the cabin, the man refuses to leave his girlfriend behind, and she calls him a fool. Suddenly, the killer enters, so Drew tells Jenna to jump out the window and run as far away as possible. However, instead of following her boyfriend's orders, the woman stabs him. Then she pulls down the killer's hood, revealing Rachel, whom she's been working with the whole time. Jenna explains they used animal blood and entrails to make it look like her friend was a victim. Then, Rachel reveals she is Ralphie, and the reason why she told Carly her story was inconsistent was because Ralphie was a girl. She explains that Sienna was her sister and mother because their father took advantage of her. After she killed Sienna, her father locked her up until she was old enough, then made her take her sister's place as his unwilling mistress. Eventually, she snapped and killed the man, and then she met Jenna, who shared her hatred for women who were willing to do the deed with anyone. The women planned that weekend to start their crusade against the people they despised and took turns eliminating the friends. Drew tells Rachel that Jenna isn't chaste anymore, angering the woman. The girlfriend says all the violence excited her, and she couldn't help herself. The furious woman says Jenna's just like everyone else, then proceeds to choke her. Suddenly, Drew hits Rachel with a bat and knocks her out. The man feels conflicted about what he did when he sees his girlfriend laughing. He says she tried to kill him, but she reminds him that she wanted to save him by telling him to leave. While the imposing woman tries to corner him, Rachel suddenly grabs her and bashes her head onto the mantle, ending her life. The injured man runs through the woods, but the deranged woman catches up to him. He manages to knock her off him and crawl toward the tool shed. There, he sees a bow on the wall and grabs it. When the tormentor opens the door, he shoots and incapacitates her. Moments later, Drew stands up and exits the door. Suddenly, the screaming Rachel pops up from the side and takes him down.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.